We are at war with Iran. It is late at night here in the West Coast where I'm recording this, and it is about midday in Iran. Trump just posted an 8-minute video on Truth Social, and he's saying that America is involved in major combat operations against Iran. They're calling these operations Operation Epic Fury. The US basically has already announced that these strikes are expected to be much, much more extensive than the attacks that took place last June when America ended up taking out Iran's 3 nuclear facilities. Now, the situation actually started with Israel attacking first, and then United States went for a follow-up attack after Israel. So this is a joint war now. Both United States and Israel are attacking Iran. Now blasts are being heard all over the capital and across many, many different cities in Iran. Among the places that was actually hit was the residence of the Supreme Leader Khamenei. It's not at all clear yet whether he's alive or he's dead. Now, this is actually a Saturday morning in Iran, which is for them is a weekday. So we have everyone is at work, children are at school, and I'm just hoping and praying that people saw this coming and they had some sort of a backup plan for where to take cover and keep themselves and their families safe. Now, the focus of these strikes goes far beyond taking out Iran's nuclear facilities or nuclear capability or their ballistic missiles, because Trump in his 8-minute Truth Social video, he was basically saying to the IRGC that as long as you lay down your weapon and you don't fight against America or you don't fight against the Iranian people, that you will be given immunity, okay? And he also told the Iranian people that basically take shelter for now, but the minute the bombing campaign is over, this is your chance to take to the streets and topple this tyrannical regime that has oppressed you for 45 years. So the goal of America this time is full-blown regime change. It's not about just their nuclear facilities or their ballistic missiles or anything like that. It's about regime change. Now, do I think that Trump in a million years actually cares about the Iranian people? No. Trump is only and only doing this because of a certain little country in the Middle East that we are joined at the hips with, okay? That's that. So I'm under no impression that Trump cares about the poor people of Iran, or, you know, he actually has some compassion for all these protesters that were killed. No, he's doing this because of that little tiny country in Middle East, okay? However, I should say, as an Iranian person, I am a little bit biased here, okay? I lived in Iran. I experienced the Iranian regime. And for those of you who don't know, who are just, you know, assuming some typical repressive regime, you are wrong. This regime is, I want to say, top 10 in 20th and 21st century most brutal regimes, okay? Remember, this last round of protests, the Iranian regime killed 7,000 people in a span of 10 days. During the Srebrenica genocide in 1995, 7,000 people also died. And the United Nations calls that a genocide, okay? This is the same amount of people, 7,000, in just 10 days. This should give you a good idea about the true extent of the brutality of this regime. People will say, oh, well, why can't the Iranian people just organically arise and topple their government? That would be an organic revolution. Why should America come and help or anything like that? Listen, that is true when you're dealing with regular repressive regimes. This is not a regular repressive regime, okay? This regime is brutal on a whole nother level. Iranian people literally have been trying to protest for 45 years. Every 5 years we see a huge round of protests in Iran, and the regime brutally suppresses it. So if you say, oh, it should be organic, well, people have tried, okay? And yes, sometimes you need outside help with certain regimes. Do you ever think during the German government in World War II, people could have just protested against that government? No, it needed outside help. Certain governments are simply just that brutal, okay? On the other hand, as an American, because I come from Iran, but I'm an American, and my loyalty only and only belongs to America, okay? I care about this country. We simply cannot afford to get involved in another Middle Eastern quagmire. We are $30 trillion in debt, okay? We already tried extensive regime change types of wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they ended up in disaster. In Afghanistan, who came back into power? Taliban. Syria is a mess. Iraq is a mess. Libya is a mess. So I totally understand why there is a 85% disapproval of a war with Iran. But people need to also understand that not all of America's involvement in foreign affairs had been negative. We have been involved throughout history in regime change wars that are seen in hindsight as very, very positive. For example, of course, the big one is always like World War II. People always talk about that, but let's not even go there because that's too typical to say. But in Bosnia in 1995, the Srebrenica genocide, America did get involved. It was a multilateral NATO attack and ended up stopping mass killings. Okay, it ended up stopping a genocide. In Kosovo in 1999, okay, America prevented the large-scale ethnic and it was a short war and there was no US ground invasion, okay? In Panama, again, it was another example of a positive involvement in 1989. In Grenada in 1983, these are all examples of positive United States involvement that did not lead to a long-term forever war, and it ended up achieving America's goal. In this situation, it all depends on how well our military is prepared, how well our intelligence knows the weaknesses of the Iranian regime, and whether they have come up already with a plan to be able to wrap this up within a few days, maximum a few weeks. And if they have done that, and if it will lead to the results of Iranian people having democracy, then I'm all for it, okay? And I think it will end up sending Trump's approval ratings through the roof. He'll say, we went in there, we achieved our goals, there was no forever war, Iranian regime is gone, Iranian people have democracy, we're good. It will be a positive thing. Do I have faith, given our recent involvements in the Middle East, that will happen? No, I don't, of course. Our latest involvements in the Middle East have all been disasters. And worse than that, Iran is much, much, much powerful than Iraq. Iran is much more powerful than Syria, much more powerful than Libya, much more powerful than Venezuela. It can't be a situation where, like Venezuela, where we go and take out their leader, and then there will be some second in line command that will just work with us perfectly and, give us everything that we want. It just does not work that way, okay? Iranian regime is not like that. What I'm going to try to do is try to wait and see how this situation goes on forward. If they end up showing to the American people that they had a plan, that they had foresight about this, they knew what they were getting involved with, and within a few weeks, we live in a world where the Iranian people are free and the Iranian regime is gone, then no one can say any criticism of Trump. Trump did something that none of the other presidents were willing to do. Okay? Even if the reasons for which he did it had nothing to do with the actual well-being of Iranian people, but it led to their well-being as a byproduct. So I already told you, Trump doesn't care about Iranian people. We all know that. He cares about his little friend in the Middle East. You guys know who I'm talking about. As long as it will have that outcome where Iranian people are free, I'm all for it. Okay? But if we end up getting involved in another forever quagmire in the Middle East, I will be here every single day and I will be criticizing this government and any government that comes after it that will continue this process. Okay? We cannot afford it. Another forever war in the Middle East will literally be the downfall of the American empire. But the information right now is too small. We cannot judge it. We need to wait and see what happens. We will be much more clear-minded about what's going on in Iran in a few days to a few weeks.